All right, we have Michael Shellenberger here at the Dissident Dialogues. How are you doing, Michael?
I'm doing great, thank you.
All right, so you, I think, are uniquely positioned to answer a question that I've been getting a lot from our viewers. You've been speaking a lot about the intelligence agencies being involved in speech codes. Now, a lot of people say to me, because I've spoken a lot on the trans issue, look at the Cultural Congress, look at the intelligence services. Do you feel there's something more nefarious behind this than a weird amalgam of gay rights organizations trying to make money after the passage of gay marriage, the medical industry trying to make money off a new diagnosis? Do you think there's something more behind it? Because it seems so crazy, it's hard to believe it happened organically.
Yeah, it does. If you don't know the history of each of these issues, often you look back and you can't figure out how did we get from here to there. But when you really look at the history, it makes a lot more sense. I mean, there was a lot of self-satisfaction among liberals around having embraced same-sex marriage and having been on the right side of history.
Right.
And there's a real desire to be on the right side of history. And so I think that's the first thing, the first enabling condition. The other is that you had all these lesbian, gay, and bisexual groups that needed another issue to campaign on. So there were financial and institutional interests. And then you had an intellectual push among scholars like Judith Butler who wanted to relativize and really deny sex differences. And then I think you did also have what you would call nihilism, or the declining belief in traditional religions, resulting in people inventing new religions, including this idea that maybe you don't have a normal soul, but you have a gender. And so the idea that people are born into the wrong body, I think, is a spiritual idea, a religious idea for people who think they're not religious.
All right, so is that a no? Like, you don't feel this is a psyop? You don't feel there's an element of that? I get that question all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you could have pulled off such a huge abuse of power and such a huge medical mistreatment scandal if it had been just a conspiracy. I think the only way this works is for it to have the support of a lot of different cultural institutions and to meet certain psychological needs, including of the people who are the true believers in this. And so I think that's part of what's going on, is that there's a hunger in the society for belief in some transcendent moral philosophy that they don't get from Christianity or Judaism or Hinduism anymore. And so people create new religions. And so you get the climate apocalypse, you get a new moral racial hierarchy, and then you get an idea of a gendered soul. And I think those are the three big woke religions.
Do you think in the United States, as they were talking about on stage, one country after another in Europe that has a not-for-profit healthcare system are banning these treatments? Do you think we're uniquely resistant because of our for-profit healthcare system?
I do. I think there is some evidence that the more centralized healthcare systems, when they change more quickly. And so as they're starting to come out against gender medical mistreatment, I think it's able to happen a lot faster than it can in the United States. We're also a much more libertarian culture, and so I think there's just a sense in which, hey, you should be able to do whatever you want with your body. I think that doesn't exist as strongly in Europe. There's still stronger social taboos and norms and prohibitions than there are here.
Now, you have spoken out a lot with dire alarm about the Scottish hate speech bill. Are you actually wanted in Brazil, or was that a joke? Somebody said yesterday you're wanted in Brazil now?
Right now I'm under criminal investigation in Brazil for supposedly, well, it's not very clear what exactly what laws I'm under investigation for violating, but arguably the destabilization of the state, which actually in the Brazilian law is only violent destabilization, but that's supposedly one of the things I'm under investigation on. But yeah, there's been 2 federal police reports in Brazil, and now the Attorney General has written a report. So they may bring charges, I hope not, but if they do, I'll go to Brazil and fight them.
You'll actually go?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you have said basically this is the intelligence services working to impose speech codes in countries without a First Amendment in order to kind of backtrack to ban the internet here. Can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's really the main event in some ways is Europe. The European Union wants to censor the internet and then impose it on the rest of the world.
Right.
People think, oh, maybe that's a conspiracy theory. Well, it's no theory, because we just saw Australia try to do just that. They tried to ban a violent video, this attempted stabbing in Australia, and they wanted X, formerly Twitter, to ban that video for the whole world. And so our nightmares were coming true, and you see that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to censor the whole internet. You get to Ireland and Scotland. Well, Ireland is unique in that it's the headquarters of so many of the big high-tech companies. So it's clear they're putting a huge focus on Ireland, in part because that's where the headquarters are. If you're trying to ban so-called hate speech from anybody's phones and computers, you've got all those high-tech executives with potential hate speech on their computers.
Okay, now Congress just passed a law, just passed the House, that would essentially criminalize protest against Israel on college campuses. Would you consider that part of this overall move towards dangerous censorship?
I think that the hysterical overreaction to student protests is mostly being led by Republicans. I think it's absolutely hypocritical. It's counterproductive for Republicans. I say this as an independent. I don't think it's part of the same group of people that are doing the censorship industrial complex. I condemn it unreservedly, but I don't think it's the same thing. I think what really scares me about it is both that it's a terrible conflation of criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. That's very dangerous to do. You want to be able to identify genuine anti-Semitism in the society. You don't want to exaggerate it. Same thing with racism and homophobia and the rest. But I think it also it undermines the ability of some very strong defenders of free speech in Congress who might be able to shut down the censorship industrial complex. It weakens their ability to do that because it opens them up to the charge of hypocrisy.
Okay, now I must say, I've been at every single panel at this festival.
Sorry, we have to cut this. We have camera shooting right here.
Okay, sorry.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
For the most part, no one is talking about this. Why?
About censorship?
About this House bill.
Well, they should be. It's a new thing, but I think also this is more of a center-right gathering, and I think this is an issue the right has been bad about. So it's much more comfortable for people on the right to criticize censorship by the left than it is when it's done by their own people.
Thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Please clap.